Hi, I'm Robin Miller. I'm the co-host of Miller Chat. My co-host today is Joseph. Say welcome.
Yes, I'm glad to be here, Robin, because this seems like a very interesting show.
We have two guests today, Donna Shea and Nadine Briggs, authors of the book, How to Make and Keep Friends. Welcome.
Thank you.
Joseph, you want to begin?
Okay. I'd like to know about the Peter Pan Center, because I've never heard of it.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, the Peter Pan Center is a center that I opened 2002, specifically to help families of kids with social and behavioral challenges. And the name Peter Pan came from a project that I did in college, where Peter Pan, being the mom of a couple of ADHD boys, I was doing a project in college on that, and my professor asked me if I'd ever read the story of Peter Pan, and I said, no, I've seen the Disney movie. And he said, well, go read the story and you tell me if Peter Pan is a good model for kids who have ADHD. And Peter Pan is pretty impulsive and hyperactive and an imp, you know, and so I thought that was a nice connotation for the kids that I work with. And so that's been around since 2002, and we do social skills groups, parenting education, work a little bit with school systems, do a lot of things to help kids who have trouble with friendships and behavior. And that's how I met Nadine, and I'll let her introduce herself.
So yeah, Donna and I work together in a lot of ways, although we don't work for the same company. My company is Social Smart Kids, and it was started in 2007. Basically, I started working and being interested in social skills back when my daughter Megan was born in 1996. She's 14 now, and she has Down syndrome. So I knew early on that she was going to need some social skills help and just coaching throughout her life. And so over the years, just really developed sort of a parent involvement or coaching philosophy that really worked well for her. And put her in the Peter Pan Center to get social coaching from Donna, and we clicked right away. We hit it off and became friends, and knew that we were very like-minded. And so I had created some cards for her, little social skills cards. They're Social Smart Kids discussion cards. And I asked Donna to review them. I said, do you think these are worth it? Do you think I should market these and, you know, sell them to people and help others with their social situations? And she said, oh, these are terrific. Let me test them at the center. And she did, and I went ahead and did that and developed the business, which is basically started out as just a website, was going to be an all-encompassing resource for social skills. And then with the cards, and then started to get involved in things with Donna in terms of social coaching and friendship tutoring and that sort of thing. And then of course the book and a lot of other projects that we work on together right now. One of them is a new initiative that we have called Social Success in School, which is a bullying prevention initiative that we just recently were launching. So we found that we have very different experiences, but when we put them together, it really works out well for families in terms of consulting with them, consulting with schools to help their kids how to make and keep friends, which is so challenging for kids these days.
It certainly is. What led you to write your book?
We're sitting doing some sort of a project together. I can't even remember what that particular project was.
I don't remember either.
And I said, wouldn't it be great, we needed to put out some sort of a little free gift or something like that. And I said, wouldn't it be great if we could do 10 tips on how to have a successful play date? And then I'll let you finish the story.
So then I just had this idea, and it was kind of funny because, you know, you get these lightning bolt ideas. This one almost knocked me out of my chair. I had this face on like, oh, I just got this idea. And I said, why don't we write a book that's a top 10 list book for all of these different social scenarios that we see kids go through all the time. You know, my kids even in their own lives, but at the center, there's just the common things that kids get tripped up by. And we said, wouldn't it be great to have a book that's written for kids that's top 10 list? Top 10 things to do when you're embarrassed, top 10 things to do when you feel angry, or if you're going to have a play date, or if your friendship is changing and, you know, the people aren't calling you back anymore, and things like that. So that was, I think, in September of last year, and honestly we worked hard on it, but it kind of poured out of us. It was one of those things where we were just cranking out these top 10 lists because we'd worked so much in this area that it was pretty easy to write for the most part. And then we launched it in January of this year.
And it's been pretty well received. We sold a couple hundred copies through Amazon, and we've had a launch, and it's being very well received. So it's nice, and the kids are liking it, and so it's been an exciting a learning experience for sure, but a very exciting one too. Yeah.
Well, that leads into the next question, Doris. Number 3.
Ouch. I'm going to have my right eye operated on, so I'm not okay, you mentioned the top 10 tools for such situations you wrote about in your book. Then you may want to give 2 or 3 specific situations on how your tools may be helpful.
Sure.
Sure. Give us an example.
Sure. One example I can think of right off the top of my head is one mom called me up. She'd had the book and she said, you know, my son has struggles on play dates, so before he had a play date, we sat down and we got out the section, and that's what's great too. It's just pick out the section. And we went over the top 10 tips for play dates, and she said he had a very successful day. I think there was another one that you had mentioned, that there was a...
We had a little guy who struggled a bit with sportsmanship. He didn't like to lose. And had some issues with that, and would melt down occasionally if he did lose in a game, but liked to play competitive sports, so it was kind of an issue for him. And when he started to get upset during his sports, he'd kind of lose control over what he was doing, and he would end up losing because he couldn't focus on his sport because he was so emotional. And so along with, there's a sportsmanship section in the book, a lot of tips, and he'd been to one of the different skill shops at the center that focus on anger and sportsmanship and things directly for kids. So he had attended that class, and some coaching too with his mom of what do you do when he's playing this particular sport? How do you coach him through it? Maybe you develop a little hand signal for things. If he looks over at you and you can see he's getting a little agitated, to remind him of the tips that are in there. And he did have a competitive event, and he was winning, started to lose, got some tips, remembered his sportsmanship teaching, and came back and actually won, because he was able to keep a calm head about it, and he had this big trophy, and he was so excited. And I was so excited when I saw the cell phone picture of him holding that giant trophy. I thought, see? And then we talked about it and said, when you stay calm and you're able to manage those feelings around sportsmanship, look what can happen. You'll actually win more than if you had gotten upset. So that was a really exciting one.
Yeah, and it was actually, it was funny, but not. We had a mom let us know that she was going to a party that weekend, and she actually got our book out, and she was reading on the how to attend go to a party, how to meet new people, how to join in. So we found that while we directed this book at 7 to 12-year-olds, we're finding that even some adults and teenagers are kind of peeking through and going, there's something to be said here. And then we have, there's a section in there about being flexible and working things out, and we're seeing a lot of kids at the center start to get really improved at, well, how about we try? Instead of you have to, we replace the words for them. And so those are the kind of tips that are in there. Simple little language things. And we tell a kid, if one tip doesn't work for you, there's 9 more to choose from. We've taught a lot of kids, one of the tips in there is, you'll hear kids say all the time, can I play with you? And that leaves the other party the opportunity to go, no, you can't play with me. So we've switched that, and we tell kids, say, hey, I'd like to play with you, or tell me what you're doing, or how can I play? Instead of leaving that opportunity for, no, you can't play with us, because then the other person has to go a long way around to try to say no. Anything else you can think of?
Just one of the ones we like to talk about a lot is, it's also in there, is just again changing the language from you have to how about we, and that's a really big one for kids. And we always joke around, it's like when an angel gets their wings. We hear the how about we from miles away, and we're like, yay! We saw some of the little guys that changed that language. And what we have also seen is sometimes we'll have kids who are more collaborative than the other person, and sometimes with adults. We had one child who was wanted to play a game, or they were playing a game in school as a lesson, and he didn't want to participate in the game like the rest of the kids were, and he was being a little behavioral around the game. And so he said, how about I just read the cards? So he would be participating but not playing the game the way the other kids were. And that's what we teach kids, is to come up with, all right, well, let's say you don't want to do it that way. Let's come up with a way that you can do it in another way, where you're still accessing it and you're still participating in the activity, but in a way that you're more comfortable with. Same
fella the other day has a lot of trouble with competitive games. And he knows this. And so we suggest, if you want to play competitive games, these are the skills we're working on. But he was great. He's like, well, how about I'm just the commentator on the game? And I'm like, great. So while he's not quite gotten the skills of the sportsmanship yet, we're still working on that, he's really developed some problem-solving, flexible thinking skills, which to me is, great progress for a kid like that.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
I was wondering if, tell the audience, can you open up the page and maybe the table of contents, maybe tell some of the situations?
Sure,
so, you know, if they're thinking
absolutely.
about, oh, maybe what situation can be applied.
Yep.
Maybe you want to, I'm not saying you have to read all of them, but maybe read the top 10, top 15.
Sure. Like, we have it divided into some sections.
Okay.
So in section 1, the first 3 are how to greet other people and enter a room, how to make new friends at school, and how to join a group. And then the section 2, tips for social success, we talk about staying on topic or how to change a topic. Managing conversation challenges. A lot of kids with social skills issues have a lot of trouble with give and take conversations.
Yeah, that's true.
And how to control and modulate your voice and body, you know, in a situation. Section 3 is tips for how to be a good friend. So these are, how do you decide who goes first in a game? How do you share things fairly? Working in a group, you know, kids have to work and do a lot of group work at school, and for some kids that's really tough. Playground success. Attending parties. And then section 4 gets into some of the older kids. We kind of find it sort of flowed into the more higher thinking things. Tips for handling social challenges, like managing those mean or dirty looks that you get, or handling lies and rumors, or the clubs and things that happen at school, or peer pressure. So we start to talk about things that start to affect the middle schoolers. So there's 50 different situations in there with a total of 500 different things for kids to do and try, and to help them with the friendship stuff. Yeah.
Well, you know, when I was growing up, I lived in Hopedale, and I lived in a circle. And sometimes we'd call Russell Tiffany down to play with us, and then send him back home.
Poor Russell.
Yeah, poor Russell's right.
See, we'd be working with Russell.
He ended up to be a commander in the Marines.
Oh, funny.
Good for Russell.
He's in control now, isn't he?
Oh, he's very much in control.
You know what? You bring up a really good point, too, because one of the reasons, you know, we found that we need this book and we find so many kids struggling socially is we don't have that neighborhood circle, go out and play, and that's where you figure it out.
Right.
Like, that's probably where Russell figured it out in the real-time world there, where with the way schedules are, and we're so inside our houses now, for whatever reason, safety or busyness, that you're not learning in the trenches.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
and
you're
so-
right.
Society has changed, so you know there's so many people that need social skills help, and you wonder, oh, why you know can't kids make friends anymore? It's because they don't have any practice.
Right.
They're not learning that, and you know it was kind of school of hard knocks when we were growing up.
I learned how not to be
You know?
bossy by nobody wanted to play with me
Yeah, if
I
you
was
weren't playing
bossy.
nicely, you were ousted. You know, so but you learned, oh, I can't be this way, or I'm not going
But
to
there
be
was
asked.
12 of us in this circle.
Yep.
There was the inside circle where I lived, and there was 2 outside circles. And you know, it was strange, but when we graduated high school, we all got together.
Yeah.
And I've got my 60th class reunion coming up.
Oh,
Wow,
how fun.
congratulations.
That's great.
60.
And there's only, out of 42 of us, there's only 6 gone.
Wow, you're a healthy bunch.
Impressive.
Yeah.
See, Dorothy speaks from the greatest generation, because when you watch the movies, not to say they're always true.
Right.
It's just that, you know, you didn't have the technology.
Yeah.
There was no Facebook, no Twitter, no telephone, no radio.
Agreed.
You more or less, you had to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
You learned, like you said, you learned the hard way, you learned the hard knocks.
Right?
And I still, we're at the, because we're the last generation that remembers not having that stuff.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
still at the brink of trying to figure out how that's impacting everybody socially.
And we talk to parents about that all the time. They say, well, what about social networking? You know, and it's tough. It has to be monitored, but it's here to stay. So
Right.
then that's what we
Yeah, that's
say.
the
It's
thing,
like, you
it
know, it's one of those things, we may not like it and it's difficult to monitor, but it's not going anywhere.
Right.
So we need to figure out a way to teach kids about what that means for them and keep them safe while still accessing
Yes.
that, because you can't just shut them out of it. It's just here to stay. So it's going to be something that they're going to access.
Right.
And
In our future file is a whole other project on how to socially survive middle school and high school, and those are huge issues for middle school and high school kids.
Very
And-
difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all because of the technology. You know, as somebody in the profession or, you know, somebody in the community, the biggest complaints that you get from people about their kids is that what it is, something happens in school, and what happens is they carry it, and then they go home on their social network,
Yep.
Twitter, Facebook. I mean, I think there's more social networking stuff that I'm not even aware. I think there's one called Flub now.
There's tons.
And then they express themselves. And what happens in the old days, if you said like, oh, I'm mad at the school and I want to blow it up, nobody like thought anything of it.
Right.
You were just venting.
Right.
Now, it's a big, big thing.
Oh, yes.
Well, that venting is out there permanently,
Yeah.
and that's what
Yes.
kids don't understand. And they don't give themselves the cool-off time, which, you know, we're trained in bullying prevention through the MARC program, and one of the parts of that teaching is wait 24 hours before you respond. Cool down,
Yeah.
basically. And they don't realize, they think I'm not face-to-face, I can say all these things and there's no impact. But there is an impact.
Yes.
And there could be a lifelong impact because more employers are looking at Facebook and looking at your page and seeing what kind of postings you have out there. And, you know, it's affecting them in their jobs.
Yeah. Well, I watched Dr. Phil quite a bit, and he said that the one thing is whatever you put on that Facebook page is going to follow you the rest of your life.
Yep.
It's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, really, even if you wanted to keep it, I think if Facebook got subpoenaed or something happened, they have to give it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a permanent record.
Yeah.
It's a permanent record.
Yeah, we coach our older kids on that all the time. And I say to them, too, I won't get on Facebook if I'm in a lousy mood. You know, I won't write anything on there that isn't upbeat or
I
positive.
don't even go on Facebook.
No, but that said, it is a way for kids to connect that don't live near each other.
Right.
And, you know,
There is a nice positive side to the
There is
whole
a positive
thing, too.
side to a lot of, even, you know,
Right.
the texting, you know, you hear that little noise on your phone, oh, someone's thinking of me right now and wanting to say hi.
Right.
It has its downsides, but it does have its positives because a lot of communication with kids happens electronically that wouldn't otherwise happen.
Right.
And it does give them that little warm feeling of, oh, my buddy's reaching out to me right now and to say hi. So there is that piece. It's dangerous and we need to put boundaries around all of it.
Oh, yes.
But there are positives to it also.
I do have a friend. She's been my friend for 70 years. She lives in Oklahoma, and I get emails from her every little while. And I was out to visit her 5 years ago. And you know, that girl is still the greatest girl.
Yeah.
Well, the email has kept you in touch.
Yeah.
Well, right. So there's really good things about the whole thing,
Oh, yes.
too. And it's just kind of coaching kids through the stuff that's not so great.
Right.
Because I think the benefits socially do outweigh
Yes, of course.
Yes.
the rotten things that happen, because there are kids, you know, they are online and maybe they are playing video games, but these are kids that might not have socialized otherwise, you know, so they are talking to other people, and of course you have to be careful with who your kid's on there with, but it does allow some kids who struggle face-to-face to still have social
Right.
interactions.
You
Absolutely.
just need to be on top of it and ask them, who are you talking
on
to?
with, right.
And making rules around it. You know, some of these online games, you know, the rule in our house is unless you know them physically in person,
That's right.
that's the only way you friend them
Yes. Yeah.
through
Right.
Xbox or something. So you just have to, you know, it's a new kind of rule that we didn't have growing up, but it's just a way to keep them safe.
Well, I don't go, when I go down through my emails in the morning, if it's someone I don't know, it's gone.
Yep.
That's where you have to
I
teach
would
kids.
not go into it.
Yep.
In your book, do you do role plays? Do you have like sample role plays about what kids can do?
We do. We have suggestions. The role play piece actually comes in with a program that we do called Kid Skits that Nadine invented, where we actually get the kids together and we take the book and we take her cards and we videotape them doing social scenarios. And we have them do it the right way, we have them do it the wrong way. And then they can take it home and be the star of their own video, having practiced that. And that's been a real fun project.
It's
And
great because, you know, as much as, you know, kids love to be on video and be on
they do.
TV.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to us when we watch them where they're normally struggling in certain areas. When they got that video camera on them and they're in a movie or in a skit,
Yep.
they really rise to the occasion. So it's exciting. And then they can watch it again and again at home and
Yep.
see what they've done and practice it and relearn it.
Well, I think that is great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, since I'm from the counseling field,
Yep.
and the thing is in my profession, when they write journals on social skills or they sell books through these
Yep.
literature per se, they always, these people who are PhDs or people who are highly intellectual, they always operate when they write a book from a particular theory or a particular evidence base.
Yep.
How would you counteract that? How would you counteract that? I mean, where is your paradigm of thinking coming from?
Actually, we come from it from several different places, and the evidence-based approach that we use is actually Ross Greene's collaborative problem solving. So that's been what I've used at the center since it opened. It was a tool that I found with my own children that worked. And so that's where we come from, is the CPS, they call it collaborative problem solving. We draw from that. We draw from the Superflex curriculum, which is Michelle
Garsha Winner developed a Superflex program.
Socialthinking.com, and this is a cast of characters where Superflex is the social hero, and he's battling the unthinkables. And this is a great tool for counselors too, because it takes the behavior off the kid and it puts it onto this unthinkable, and how are we going to overcome him? Like this afternoon we were in the office going, I think there's a brain eater and a body snatcher hanging around so-and-so who wasn't paying attention to his friend and kept going off to do something else. We draw from that, and we also have over time, Nadine, I asked Nadine once, parents always tell me that what I do is working, but I don't know what I'm doing differently that somebody else isn't doing. And she said, it's these little phrases that you use. And so we have come up with these little catchphrases, we call them, or key phrases, that we find work. They're easily memorable by kids. We share them with the schools. And so we bring that piece in. Did I miss a piece that we use?
Well, we also, no, those are pretty much it. But as far as that piece of it is, we have the kids come up with their own unthinkables. We had one of the ones that I had used was, well, actually. So when a child hears themselves who overcorrects somebody, they say, well, actually, you know, if you say it's 1:15, well, actually it's 1:13. You know, we say
doesn't make friends,
and not a necessary correction. And it's one of those things that they need to know. Let that go. That's not important. So I've taught kids to say, if you hear yourself thinking, well, actually, to freeze your brain and think to yourself, do I really need to do this change? And so we had one little guy who said, well, we don't need to say, well, actually, you can just say, actually. And so we said, well, you just well actually, my well actually. So we thought, we got some work to do here, but that's fine. And so then he went on to create an unthinkable of his own called Hector Corrector. And he did get it. So he wrote, one little correct guy said, I like potatoes, and the other guy said, actually, well, actually, they're potatoes. So as much as he, at the blush, we didn't think he got it, he definitely got it, and he created Hector the Corrector, who is now laminated and on the windows of Peter Pan.
And we found that, you know, speaking of people in the counseling profession, we had a couple of guidance counselor friends review our book for us. And one of them actually said, she goes, you just did my lunch bunch for 50 weeks. You know, which is real. So she draws from one of the top 10 tips, and she uses it for role playing and discussion in her groups at school. So that's been a really neat thing too.
Well, and a lot of that is, it's great stuff, like the, you know, theory of mind and, you know, social mapping and that sort of stuff. It all has great value.
It does.
But
we're like, what do you do?
We're more about, okay, this happened, what do you do? The next time this happens, what do you do? So we're very much like the action you take. So if you leave, you read the book and you're finished with that, or you go to one of our seminars, we pride ourselves on saying, when you leave, 30 seconds after you walk out the door and something happens, you're going to know how to handle that situation differently than you did the last time. And that's really what we try to do, is just that real easy, actionable stuff. It's not going to cost you anything, really. It's just going to be change in language and change of attitude to a huge degree.
Right. And we also consider ourselves friendship tutors. That's how we look at it. You know, if a child is struggling with math, we give them a math tutor. If you're struggling with social skills, you get a friendship tutor. And children who need counseling, we absolutely refer, and we work in tandem with a lot of
counselors. Do you do any work in the Worcester area?
We go almost anywhere. You know, we travel with the skill shops. We travel with presentations. Our social skills programs are pretty much, you know, housed at the center, but we do a lot of traveling types of things,
I definitely encourage you. Have you gotten the catalogs that they have on books for kids? Like they have Hands Are Not for Hitting. They have a catalog from whoever, and then they have this other catalog. Have you thought of marketing that?
Big future file item, yes. We're starting with little bookstores at the moment.
But but the book is at Willow Books in Acton, and it's actually the Toy Shop of Westford also. And of course on Amazon. But we have a huge future file in terms of initiatives that we want to do. There's a lot to be done in this field in terms of helping. I think this is a great start, but there's a lot more that we have in our plans. It's just prioritizing all of those plans and making it happen when we can.
Now, these books are not in the big, like, Borders or any of
They're in the system, so you can go into the stores and order them. Or you can just go right to Amazon and order it. It's right there. We're working on getting them into the little independent bookstores at the moment and things. But it does have the, it is in all the systems.
They should be there eventually. I think it takes some time. We launched the book in January, so again, they have access. They're in the main distributors, so hopefully they'll be on the shelves soon in those major stores.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely have a lot to share. I would like to see a Facebook page that has ways to act appropriately, like take what you write and put it on Facebook like a video and say this is what you can do in this situation. Since the young kids are on the Facebook anyway, wouldn't it be great if we had videos on Facebook that taught how to react?
Well, we've been
or how to
talking
act.
about the whole YouTube thing and doing that for kids. So, boy, you're hitting all our future. Well, you're thinking right along with us there, Robin.
Well, you have to YouTube now. You can have up to, I think it's more than 10 minutes
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
And they do read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They definitely. Well, believe it or not, we only have about 2 minutes left.
Wow, that went by fast.
So I guess what you could do is just say, like he just put 2 minutes up for me. Just say, your website, any future programs coming up, and how people can contact you.
Sure, you go first.
Okay, I'm socialsmartkids.com. My phone number is 978-764-2758. So you can go on there and get email and all sorts of information. But the biggest thing right now that we're working on is we have a summer camp that we're running for the second summer, which is really exciting. We expanded it a little bit this year, so we have kids. We're doing 7 to 12, 7 to 11,
and 4 to 6.
and then we're doing a tinier camp for the 4 to 6-year-olds this summer, and that's a 6-week program for 3 days a week. So that's what we're working on right now. Is our next big initiative.
And you can reach me at www.PeterPanCenter.com or 978-772-1255. Lots of information on there. We send out email bulletins once a week letting folks know what's going on, so it's easy to get added onto there. And that's pretty much how you get. I'm located in Harvard. You're in Westford.
I'm in Westford, but my work is done at the Peter Pan Center in Harvard.
Well, we have to wrap up now. I am honored to say that we've had Nadine Briggs and Donna Shea, authors of How to Make and Keep Friends, available at www.amazon.com. And this is Robin Melwood, Lip Sync. Good night.